Creation's Journey to Life, Day 68, Relationship Dynamics, Part 3. This is a continuation to Day 66, Relationship Dynamics, Part 1, Day 67, Relationship Dynamics, Part 2. Watch the documentaries The Trap, The Century of the Self, and Psy-War for context. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that through acceptance and allowance as a management dynamic, human consciousness developed in the principle of giving and receiving based on inequality, competition, and taking chances, basing help on a debt system of, if I help you, you owe me, and placing friends, family, and business partners above, and in this peculiar way to protect self-interest, inequality is allowed in the world in the most inhumane ways possible. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the world system of inequality is supported by everyone through the way money is spent, which determines the direction of human consciousness as demonstrated in politics in the USA, where the outcome of elections is predictable according to the amount of money spent on media to influence the voters. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that religious faith utilized money to build its control around the world, through the contributions of followers paying for their sins and debt in spirit, without the religion producing a physical world that is best for all life, only promising to those who pay for their forgivenesses a better life after death. And in spite of the obvious bizarre promise, people become hypnotized in their faith due to fear and support systems in their religion based on inequality in this world, without questioning. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that because money has been accepted and allowed as the decision maker on earth, each one dedicated to establishing a world system that is best for all life in all ways will have to dedicate part of their income to the financing of the re-education of the human race, as the future of the human race will depend on where the money is spent, as it is shown clearly in the day-to-day existence on earth. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the key to understanding the problem of inequality on earth lies in the faith of a person's acceptance, and that once a person accepted that the world and humans cannot change as it is so ordained, the person becomes as such a direct danger to life on earth that will only act in self-interest and not care at all about life on earth. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that any claim of a better life after death is the same claim made in consumerism about a product, like a holiday portrayed as magical in advertising, and as such, a claim of a better life after death will have the objective of the one claiming it to make money, as the one claiming such ridiculous stuff will not present a practical solution for an equal life for all on earth, but would justify inequality, as fortunes are made through the global acceptance of inequality, with the resultant promises of something better hereafter. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the acceptance and allowance of the world as it exists as inequality, as a way to justify self-interest, is in essence the ultimate acceptance of failure of the self in the principles of life as equal, condemning the world and life to cycles of suffering endlessly. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that each one with money is the creator of inequality on earth, and that a consistent effort of directing money to an outcome of equality will be required to change the world, as the heart of men is the heart of money, is the heart of love, justified by a ridiculous promise of something better hereafter, while only here can be determined for sure, and is determined to be unequal, as that is what is being lived by those with the ability to change it, which are those with money. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the true spirit of man is determined by the money in the pocket, and that all definitions of a man can be traced back to money, as money gives man the power to be compassionate, gracious, forgiving, etc., just confirming that their actions are not the real nature of the man, they are the money nature of the man, meaning that no giver of money that does not make sure that the world changes to equality is ever a real giver, as a real giver will establish giving and receiving as equal lives for all on earth, so that life can be trusted on earth for eternity, and thus actual practical eternal life can be established on earth. I commit myself to show that giving within a system of inequality is like playing a game in a casino where one gives now to win later, and that friendships are based on this bizarre game of give and receive, creating a class of elite where one hand washed the other to the exclusion of all others. having a closed circle of control, disregarding life and honoring the dishonesty of the trust between the robbers and life. I commit myself to show that those that do understand that problem of inequality will understand that a complete system change is necessary and that such a mission requires funding to re-educate the many lost in fear. And as such, a person will first act in what they contribute to re-education, while they re-educate themselves as well, and then will become a teacher to assist with the re-education, till we have a human race, again, that cares about life equally within all. I commit myself to show that the system that now exists, that all contribute to, came about over centuries through the contributions of the general populace as they became convinced they are born in sin and must buy their way out, establishing consumerism as we have today, as the religion to the happiness of self. The same method of participating in creating a new system will be required through time to purge the embedded sin from the flesh of men, to establish the living word as equal on earth forevermore. I commit myself to show that the world as it exists now is woven together with a relationship between money, time, labor, and faith that produced a world of extreme inequality, and that the same four keystones will be required to dissolve the acceptances and allowances that were formed, so that the fabric of existence can be recreated anew, to be based on what is equally best for all life always throughout all time, which is why one of the ingredients for creating such a system is equal money, and the other one is education, replacing faith and labor as life, replacing labor for money, with the only ingredient remaining unchanged is time, being brutally irreverent as it acts as a canvas of consequence, presenting the picture of living creation according to acceptances and allowances formed as the relationships that string and strangle and bind the colors of the picture in a coherent and together here-ness, which represents the accumulative awareness level of all here as one as equal. I commit myself to show that nonprofit charities will do anything to present the illusion that they represent a caring humanity, but will never go to the only actual solution, which is where all life is honored and treated equally, always, as the only true value that has ever actually existed, and therefore the only nonprofits that should be supported are those that work for a permanent solution to the problems of poverty, suffering, and inequality, as only a permanent solution is a real solution. I commit myself to show that the real living meaning of words are as they become the world system, and that therefore words like love and compassion and kindness do not reflect real values as life, but only as self-interest to feel better about the constant inner deception humanity takes part in inside the mind as inner chatter. I commit myself to show that money will only be a charitable, kind tool of love when it is equal money. While money exists in its current form, it is deceptive and only based on individual self-interest that justifies harm and suffering in the most bizarre ways just to protect the money in the pocket that gives safety from doom.